this is concerning and should put everybody on alert because the U.S. Postal Service has not issued a letter like this since COVID. So the letter basically says that all Postal Service employees should carry their essentials letter and their ID to bypass any travel restrictions. So what's coming? Here's the letter. Take a look.
All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, which is to say in the Paleo Hebrew, Yahweh, which is the name of our Heavenly Father, meaning He is, and that is who the world ignorantly calls God, Bahashem, which means in the name, Yahweh Shai, which means He is our salvation, and that is who the world also ignorantly calls Jesus, a so-called black man, who, by the way, only came for the Israelites, all right? Now, there's a lot of things that's going on that we need to be aware of, and the first clip was of certain countries that they are banning U.S. travel to, okay? So the times that we're coming into is going to be very conducive to us to be aware of these things, okay? Because who knows where you're going to be at once all hell breaks loose, and you may be stuck in that place wherever it is, okay? Now, the second clip is of a letter that was recently sent out by the United States Postal Service warning its employees to carry their essential letter, all right, because of all this civil unrest that they're predicting that's to come. All right. And they're saying also that the last time a letter like this was sent out by the United States Postal Service, USPS, was back during the 2020 pandemic. Okay. So what's getting ready to really go down here in Babylon the Great, America? All right. Something major. Okay. And although we don't know exactly, we telling the people to prepare themselves. And how are you going to prepare yourself? Through this word, all right? So I wrote in Google, did the USPS issue a letter to the employees? And it says, yes, the USPS did issue a directive appearing genuine, dated January 5th, 2026, all right? Which was just earlier this week. It says, reminding all employees to carry their official ID and an essential service letter during emergencies. So they're preparing their employees to go through checkpoints in case martial law is set up, where in order for you to move about throughout the city, you have to have your credentials, just like during the time of the C-19, when only essential workers was allowed to travel, but they did not enforce that law, or they did not enforce that rule, physically, all right? But this time around, you can bet they're going to have troops set up where you can't come and go unless you have the proper credentials, okay? So they're setting the stage for a militarized police state. It says, reminding all employees to carry their official ID and an essential service letter during emergencies, like potential unrest or epidemics, to ensure they could bypass travel restrictions and continue mail delivery. All right? So these are the times that we're going into, all right? And they're putting it right here in front of your face, okay? Now, whether you take heed and do what's, required of you, that's on you. It says, to ensure they could bypass travel restrictions and continue mail delivery, a practice similar to C19 guidelines, right? And it haven't been that long ago. It's going into 5 years now, all right? Right around February, March is when everything started to shut down, okay? We're headed into those months now, okay? This will be coming up on the 5th year, right around March or so, all right, where they wasn't letting people come in and leave in certain facilities. They weren't letting people, supposedly travel on streets unless they had business to attend to, and they had to have being an essential worker such as firefighters or polices or people with that type of status, all right, mailman, all right. So these are the times we coming into, okay, and they setting the stage for what, a militarized police state where they're going to have your credentials, which we know essentially are going to be turned into those digital IDs, which is going to be on that RFID microchip. It says a practice similar to COVID 19 guidelines, according to social media posts and news reports. This memo from Chief Human Resources Officer Doug Tolino served as a general reminder for preparedness, not tied to a specific immediate crisis, ensuring postal workers could perform their essential functions under federal law. And when they should say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes. So, of course, he's just saying it's for preparedness. But what is it really for? It's getting ready for something real major to go down here in Babylon the Great. Key details. It was issued back in January 5th, which was earlier this week, 2026, because the day is January the 9th. Friday, issued on January 6th, okay? So it says, Doug Tolino, purpose, remind, why? To bypass local travel restrictions during emergencies, epidemics, civil unrest, all right? And a lot of those countries that America banned its citizens to travel to, they're going to be more than likely in the crosshairs of when all hell breaks down, okay? It says action required, carry ID badge, which we know essentially that ID badge is going to be transitioned into a digital ID and then to the RFID, radio frequency ID, all right, which is on the microchip. Context, a reoccurring practice similar to guidance during the C19 pandemic. So what are they preparing for? Do they got something, or do they know something that we don't, as the general population, know? That these governments allow their federal higher ups to know to get their employees prepared for something? Hey, let's take this as a precaution, and let's continue to go hard for this truth, because hey, nothing we can do is going to prepare us for what the Lord has in store. So it's best to get right with him. Okay? Let's get a few precepts. This is 2nd Ezra 15 and verse 17. It reads, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, right? Because why? They're not going to allow you to come in without the proper credentials, okay? They're setting the stage for what? Martial law, civil unrest. It says, verse 18, for because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. See? So these are the times that's getting ready to be set and put into motion that we're reading of in the Holy Bible. All right? Because why? This devil has but a short time, so he has to move exponentially and quickly to get his agenda out right before Yahushua returns. Okay? So we telling the people, get right, man. How many more signs do you need? All right? See, it's going to come a time where the Lord is going to seal up this word, and his prophets, his men, the servants aren't going to be giving you these warnings anymore. Okay? Matter of fact, let's go there. This is Ezekiel chapter 3 and 26. It reads, and I will make thy tongue cleave to the roof of thy mouth, that thou shalt be dumb, and shall not be to them a reprover. for they are a rebellious house, right? And Ezekiel was a prophet, all right? But the Lord caused his tongue to cleave to his mouth, so he couldn't what? Reprove the people. Well, guess what? He's going to do the same thing this time when the famine of the word comes, all right? The Lord's going to seal up this truth, and it's going to be hard for you to get the answers that you're looking to in those times, all right? That's why you have to take heed now and get the instructions now for what's to come, okay? And we're telling you, part of judgment is going to be pestilence, all right? Or sword, and famine, okay? This is Ezekiel chapter 5 in verse 16. It says, when I shall send upon them the evil arrows of famine, which shall be for their destruction, and which I will send to destroy you, and I will increase the famine upon you and will break your staff of bread, right? Because the Lord is essentially doing this, okay? To get us to remove from this system and solely rely on him. Because why? Those are going to be the ones that he's going to provide for, which are the elect of Israel. All right? The 2/3, they're going to be destroyed in this time. All right? Because why? They don't have the faith. They haven't been seeking the Lord while he may be found, and therefore they don't have wisdom. Okay? It says, and I will increase the famine upon you and will break your staff of bread, right? Because when these times come and you can't get your essentials, because that's what the bread goes into, your essentials, all right? Give us this day our daily bread. Who are you going to rely on then? Who are you going to call for help in that time? You see? And only the elect is going to have that answer, all right? Because why? They've been seeking Yahweh through his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai. It says, verse 17, so will I send upon you famine and evil beasts, and they shall bereave thee, and pestilence and blood shall pass through thee. See? So it's going to be an all-out war out here, man, on the streets of Babylon the Great, okay? So, hey, it's best that you get right with the Lord in these last days, man, before everything just goes all out chaos, all right? Before the lights go out in Babylon the Great, okay? Because the prophets, as we read in Ezekiel 3 and 26, aren't going to be out here prophesying much longer, okay? The internet could be taken down just like they did in Iran from the protests, okay? Iran shut down its internet due to all the protests. Guess what? This could be something similar here in America, where America shuts down the internet and blame it on a foreign, entity, or maybe even a domestic entity attack, if you get what I'm saying. It says, and pestilence and blood shall pass through thee, and I will bring the sword upon thee. I, Yahweh, have spoken it. See? So he's bound by his words to make good on it. So he's going to do it, all right? Esau, a multitude of great wrath burning, madman sparing none. These are all coming, man. We here. If you haven't been able to tell, we are here. All right? This is it. We are at the beginning stages of Jacob's trouble, and it's not slowing down. It's only escalating, man. Because why? We at the last. All right? This is Ezekiel 7 and 15. It reads, the sword is without, and the pestilence and famine within. He that is in the field shall die with the sword, and he that is in the city, famine and pestilence shall devour him. Right? So you won't be able to escape judgment, all right? No matter what you try to do, you won't be able to escape it. You try to run to the countryside, you're going to get judged. You try to move around the city, you will be judged. The only way you can escape this is if the Lord is dealing with you, man. And he's only dealing with the elect. And we're going to find out who are the elect in these times. It says, he that is in the city, famine and pestilence shall devour him. But they that escape of them shall escape and shall be on the mountains like doves of the valleys. All of them mourning, every one for his iniquity, right? Because those of us that are delivered, we're going to be mourning because we're going to know we weren't worthy to escape all these, judgments, okay? And ultimately, the ultimate judgment, which is the sword, the thermonuclear missiles, when we beamed up into the chariots, we gonna be, mourning, but then we gonna be rejoicing, man, because we made it. All right. That's why the scriptures say, if the if the righteous scarcely make it, how much more the wicked? Roughly paraphrasing. All right. Let's see if I can get that. Scarce. This is 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 18. It reads, and if the righteous scarcely be saved, where should the ungodly and the sinner appear? See? So they gonna, they gonna get judged horribly. All right? Because the righteous, they gonna scarcely be made saved. All right? That goes to show you that these Christians don't know a damn thing they talking about, man. How can you be saved when we still waiting to be delivered out of Babylon the Great and elsewhere? The judgment hasn't even came yet. All right? Jacob's trouble is just in the beginning stages. Wait till it really turns up. All right? Where you gotta, take directives from a militarized police state, and you can't leave your house because of lockdowns, and you can't go out to find food, because if you do, you risk the chance of you being locked up and thrown into a detention center. All right? How you gonna make it? How you gonna get around the city then? How you gonna leave and come back and forth from your jobs or whatever? See? The stage is being set. Okay? So back to Ezekiel chapter 7 and verse 16. 16. But they that escape of them shall escape, and shall be on the mountains like doves of the valleys, all of them mourning, every one for his iniquity. All hands shall be feeble, and all knees shall be weak as water. Right? Because we gonna be out here experiencing the same things as the 2/3 of our people and the other heathen nations. But the only thing is, we have a deliverer and a savior in Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai, man. See, we're going to be going through the same experience as the others, but we're going to have favor on our side. Okay? We're going to have favor. So that's going to pretty much wrap it up. Let's go ahead and close out with 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8, because, hey, the warnings are getting ready to come to an end, man. Okay? The warnings are getting ready to come to an end. All right? We getting ready to see judgment on a mass scale. All right? So this is 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8. It reads, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. And guess who's giving him the green light? Yahweh. Okay? So if you ain't right with the Lord, guess what? Hey, that sword is going to be prepared just for you, or that pestilence, or that famine. Okay? So this is why it's good to get into mercy, get into good grace with Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai. So it says, 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. Right? Those that don't have on the whole armor of the Most High will be devoured. All right? So with that being said, pray someone was edified through this lesson. And until the next time, if it be the Lord's will, stay strong, stay in the faith. We're almost home. Shalom. Peace.